you would very quickly be dropped.
Well, I think... Wow.
Just saying. I'm just...
Ghazi, don't hold anything back, will you, pal? I mean, really.
Okay, continue.
You're listening to The Big Drill. Off we go.
Are we live?
We are live. We are live indeed. Here we go.
And it's another episode. And today's episode is an exciting one for me.
It's a tasty one.
It's very tasty. And I think the question we're going to explore is, do esports professionals count as athletes?
That's the starting question, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to sit here and openly admit I know pretty much sweet FA about esports. So I don't really know what esports consists of.
Okay.
I would imagine there is a few people out there, hopefully, that know a bit more than me about it.
Yes.
But I think it's always good to kind of like go, well, act as the weakest link of the listeners, and I'm probably the weakest link.
You could play devil's advocate as well.
I could play devil's advocate, but that would just be me pretending to know more than I do. I literally don't know anything.
That's fine.
So this is your ballpark. Here we go. I've got a question.
Or shall I explain it first?
Well, what is esports?
Oh, that's what you're going to ask.
What is esports? Yeah, it's kind of
so the E stands for electronic.
Okay, cool.
Electronic sports.
Right.
Esports. It basically means people play games, video games, in a sports format. So in competitions, in tournaments, and you see who the best player is at that bloody game.
Okay, so like at the moment,
have you heard of Call of Duty?
I have, yeah. I mean, initially the image I had up was Duck Hunt.
Okay, no.
There's no.
There might be. I don't know.
There's no esports for Duck Hunt.
So here's the great thing: sports has so many different. You may not watch all the sports, so you won't know. You might follow football, but have no idea what's going on in basketball.
Absolutely,
completely. Same thing in esports. So you have your favorite games. Okay. Those are the ones you follow.
So you follow Call of Duty, but you might not know what's going on in Duck Hunt.
Exactly.
Okay.
If Duck Hunt even exists, but it might do.
It's a classic game. Of course, it
might.
Somewhere.
Pac-Man might exist. I don't know. You never know. But usually you need it to be competitive. So it's PvP, we call it, person versus person.
Okay.
That's what makes it competitive, rather than facing the AI, the artificial intelligence.
Okay, so what it is a electronic format of a game which people log on to, get involved in a person-to-person scenario, and they compete to see who the victor is.
Just like a sport. Literally the same.
Very, very similar to a sport.
It's literally the same concept, except it's virtual rather than physical.
Yeah, virtual.
It's literally, so therefore electronic sports. So I was going to use Call of Duty as an example.
Please do.
Well, it's changed now to teams of 5, but originally it was teams of 4 versus another team of 4. So you and your friends, we're pretty fucking good at this. We're going to team up, we're going to face another team. And you know what? We're destroying everyone.
Right.
We need a bit more competition. You start finding people that are good all over the world.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. These gaming companies switch their heads on and go, we can make money off this.
Of course.
Let's create a tournament with big prize pools. Make these teams compete. And naturally, what happens is you start getting only the best rise to the top.
So the experience that I've got when I've played Call of Duty, which I have played Call of Duty back in the day.
Most people have, to
back
be
in
fair.
the day, winding back the years, shall we say. I used to play Call of Duty with my flatmate, with my housemates in university, and I can remember one of them, Rich. Shout out to Rich. There was particularly effective at snipering.
Okay.
And very quickly, I became demotivated by the fact that I was playing against him, because I always lost. So in that sense,
you would be labelled a noob.
Oh, I never got off the noob ladder.
So that's what
I'm a forever noob.
Just like you have noobs in real sports.
Sure.
The guy that can't kick a ball in football. He's the noob of football.
Okay.
You've got that. So as much as we've got the great players who are like insane at the game,
Yeah.
you've got the ones that you wish never even tried to play.
So the next stage, just trying to like kind of liken this to like the journey of someone. So like I then decided that Rich, no, I'm not playing against you anymore because I just keep losing.
Yeah.
So we then join up in a team. And we might join into a team of a bigger team.
You would very quickly be dropped.
Well, I think. Wow.
Saying. I'm just.
Ghazi, don't hold anything back, will you, pal? I mean, really.
Okay, continue.
So then I kind of like get myself in a situation where I'm then going into a team with Rich.
Yeah.
And then I keep getting like shot and killed and losing again. And so this person comes up on the headphones, and is like, "Oh, mate, you're pretty shit." And I'm like,
"That's the classic."
And I'm like, "Hang on, that sounds like a female." And I'm like, "What?" Okay.
Oh.
So I'm like, "Sorry, who's that?" It's Johnny.
Is that how you
and then
responded? Oh, sorry, who's that?
Pretty much. Oh, well, I didn't want to offend the person. I was like, sorry, who's that? And he's like, "It's Johnny." And I'm like, "Oh, it's Johnny." And I'm like, "Okay, how old are you, Johnny?" "I'm 12. So I'm now in my early 20s, losing to a game by someone who effectively...
And Johnny might be pro now. You never know.
Well, I hope Johnny is pro. I mean, he was very good. To be fair, he was very good. So
that was a very polite exchange you guys had.
Oh, it got worse. It got worse.
I was gonna say I've got messages on my PlayStation today, saying they're gonna bomb my country because I'm a Brit.
Wow. So it gets a little bit out of hand. So it's almost like hooliganism in esports.
Yeah, but the great thing is you can quickly just ban people.
Good.
You can report them and they'll get warnings.
And then they're gone. They're knocked off the server.
Yeah, and then they just make a new account.
Yeah, I mean, I did throw some abuse at Johnny, but knowing that he was a little lad, I did curb it to a certain degree. It went along the lines of, "Hey Johnny, isn't it past your bedtime?" Johnny, how's your mum doing? You know.
Oh wow!
I know that
you threw in the mum as well.
Yeah, but he came back with something pretty good, so I thought I'd draw the line.
Okay. Let me just mute him.
Let's just get rid of Johnny. Yeah. So okay, so that was my experience of esports, and pretty much as far as it went. Because after university, I just kind of like went off and found other interests, basically. Whilst obviously this phenomenon, which has become huge, has grown and kind of become an entity of itself on a much grander scale.
Back then there was no format of, if you get this good, you can take yourself to the next stage.
Right.
It was just you're good.
Yeah.
And then there was no way of competing against the other good players until there's something called game battles and something similar. So websites where you create your team on the website, you play other teams, and then the competitive aspect started coming into it because teams were now facing other structured teams.
Okay.
So there's teamwork now involved rather than just the single player. I'm very good and I'm just killing everyone. And it's not just limited to Call of Duty. It's loads of different genres of games.
Okay, so it's not just Call of Duty now. It's grown. It's kind of like become something massive, and it's pulled in a load of other games.
Yeah, so I think Call of Duty was one of the first games that started creating a huge competitive scene. But you've got loads of different genres, the same way as you've got loads of different sports, loads of different popular games. Some get high and then they quickly drop off. Some are more steady, like Call of Duty, but you got stuff like League of Legends, StarCraft 2, Fortnite, and more games will, I'm sure, arrive and go as time goes on. So that's essentially what the esports, that's what it is. That's what esports is. Now we've got to talk about whether these professional players are athletes or should be considered athletes. So what's your take on that?
Well, I guess my initial take is, how do they become victorious, right? How is the competition effectively won?
I'm going to use Call of Duty because everyone's played that game. Okay, so there's teams.
Actually, can I just say something? Call of Duty, I do have trauma attached to Call of Duty.
Then we're going to use that even more.
As we've spoken about. But I'm happy for you to use Call of Duty as an example.
All right. Imagine a tournament. Okay? You get multiple teams.
Yeah.
Every team has a team of 4. They all have their own company behind them. Gaming teams.
Gaming teams.
So you might have heard of Optic Gaming. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
like Ferrari in Formula 1.
Exactly.
Sure, okay.
They got their pro players.
Mm-hmm.
They're signed to the team. They're paid. Contracts. Get paid every month. Just recently I got told low tier Call of Duty teams are paid $6,000 a month. That's low tier.
Wow.
Imagine you're on the... So just to put into perspective, guys, that if you think these guys are
a month
unsociable kids that have no friends or girlfriend, whatever,
well,
at least they've got money.
$6,000 a month.
There you go. Exactly. So who's laughing now?
Yeah.
So
little Johnny, he's having a right old laugh, I can tell.
So yeah, there's a huge pool of teams, and think of a tournament. They play each other. There might be group stages, so the top 2 teams will go to the knockout stages,
like the World Cup.
Thank you. Like a sport.
I'm just bringing this in for the
like
real sports people,
yes,
that
like
might be
sport,
listening. Yeah.
Literally, and then you get to the final.
Yeah.
Whoever wins the final,
or the semi-final,
or the semis, but the goal is to literally beat every team.
Yeah, of course.
You get crowned the champions.
Yeah.
You get paid a lot of money for winning, and they go home happy. And then you wait for the next tournament.
Okay. How often do these tournaments run?
Depends on the game.
Okay.
So Call of Duty is quite often. I think it's maybe every 3 months. I can't remember. But there's other games that have leagues. So it's not even a tournament. It's like the Premiership, for example. You're in a league. You play everyone. You gain points. You lose points.
Right.
See who wins at the end, and
well,
again,
I mean, the league is obviously runs for a season. I'm assuming there's like
there'll be seasons, but it won't be
fixtures and such for.
It's so. I guess this is where the difference is. The leagues can be played.
Can I just say that there is more than this difference, which we're going to
go
on to.
Correct.
But a difference.
So this is a difference between them is physical sports is more strenuous in terms of the body. There's a limit to.
Of course, it's more demanding.
You reach the limit quicker physically than you would mentally. So, for example, let's take football. A season, a year. You wait for the new season to start.
Yeah,
so it's yearly.
Yeah, 9 months. 9 months.
Yeah,
with off season.
And then you got the off season and you start again.
Yeah.
Games typically have shorter seasons than that. So you have maybe 3-4 seasons in a year.
So a gaming league would be much shorter and sharper.
Again, it depends on
okay,
whatever the game is, but it's up to them essentially how they want to structure it. But usually what happens is you'll have a huge, like the World Cup at the end of the year. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So League of Legends, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. So it's a PC game.
I haven't. No, I'm afraid I haven't. League of Legends. It sounds good though.
That's why, because you're not a legend.
Wow. For anyone else who's listening that also hasn't heard of League of Legends, I'm sure Ghazi thinks you're a legend, and it's just me that he doesn't think is a legend. So
no, but it's fine. League of Legends. It's a free game. You can download it, and it's free. You don't have to pay for it.
Okay.
I encourage you guys to try it out just to see what I'm talking about. But basically, it's separated in regions. Mm-hmm. So Europe face each other in the seasons.
Yeah.
North America face each other.
Yeah.
You've got Asia. Korea's got their own because they're that good. The Koreans are the best, basically. In terms of,
so the regions are
you know how you've
got like the NFL would like split regions up or
similar,
or kind of
similar,
baseball.
and then there's the World Cup.
Right.
So all the best teams from those regions come together and they
Go
face each
into
other
the playoffs.
in a tournament.
Yeah, like the playoffs, and then you get off to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So if you think about how Jamaica's the best at athletics in the Olympics, Korea is that equal in esports. They are fucking good. I don't know if it's their lifestyle, their work rate. I don't
Are
know
we
what it
talking
is.
North or South Korea?
South?
South Korea.
South Korea. Yeah.
Just
we just call them Korea because whatever. But
well, we shouldn't really do that.
No, as in the gaming world, we just call them Koreans.
Okay.
Yeah, but the South Koreans,
Okay. South Koreans are
the top dogs. They crush everyone basically. Europe and America like to compete with each other, but the Koreans come and just say, "Well, you're both shit."
We're having that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Exactly.
World Cup, taking it home.
They've won the most. Korean teams have won the most.
So, what? So is that the three kind of like dominant countries? What about Germany? What about
Germany would fall into
Belgium?
Europe.
Okay, so like splitting it down into
So it's
drilling down further.
Okay, so let's say you have a team called Optic. I'm just going to use Optic.
Okay.
You're not limited to the country you're in.
Okay.
You can bring players from all around the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So usually you just count if you're from within that region. So if you're within the continent Europe, you're counted as a European team.
So like Chelsea could bring in any footballers from any other continents, and it would fall under Chelsea's
And actually, there's
banner.
been rules put in place to stop that as well, because the richer teams were just buying Koreans.
Sure, just like football.
Yeah, and they were like, well, you can only have 2 Koreans on your team, for example. The rest have to be from Europe or America or North America, whatever. So this is League of Legends I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, otherwise you'd end up with a
European team full of Koreans. Yeah.
Which wouldn't really.
Which is
fit
what
the
was.
bill, would it?
That's where it was going.
Essentially, that's what's happened. In times in the football world as well. Where you've just ended up with.
So it's had its issues already. There's also issues about performance enhancing drugs as well already put in place.
I can imagine there's some things to like help mental acuity and like concentration,
keep you switched on,
keep you awake.
Keep you focused.
And there's a lot of negative effects, anxiety that comes along with things that keep you like on a heightened state of arousal for a prolonged amount of time. But
if it's going to make you a lot of money,
and the burnout of that,
I
mean, you've only got to look at things like caffeine, that is effectively a necessity for so many. Not myself, I'm having a cup of coffee now, and just to keep me awake,
so you can focus on me,
so I can focus on these esports phenomena that's being delivered. But yeah, essentially, I think that's a big that's an interesting kind of like, because obviously you don't have to take physically enhancing drugs. That's going to obviously no benefit at all. So it's going to be effectively drugs that, instead of putting stress on your joints, on your cardiovascular system, so on and so forth, it's just going to fry your brain.
It's going to so it's similar to the ones that students take when they're close to
exams to revise. Okay.
Similar ones to those, because it keeps you so focused, like your brain's heightened. Or
but then obviously you can't sleep, so then you're in a situation where
you can't sleep, you just practice more. It's not like you have to go out anywhere to practice. You just
sit in your room and practice.
There we go.
Which actually is gonna that's gonna fall quite nicely onto the next question that I'm gonna have. Okay, so this is kind of where the shit's gonna get real.
Okay.
So we've come to the part where I need to put this out there, and it's probably going to be a little bit controversial, is I have a real big problem with having the same kind of outlook on esports that I do, say for example, a sport that requires a physical and a mental contribution in a mixed kind of way in order to be able to become victorious in a competitive environment. So the way I see it is that esports isn't properly an athletic kind of setup.
So what you're saying is, for it to be a sport, So you're not even we're not even talking about whether they're athletes yet. You're disputing the fact it can even be considered a sport. Am I getting that correct?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. And your definition of sport would be there has to be competition between one and another.
Competition, yeah.
Competition, full stop. But it must consist of physical demand. Am I getting that right?
A physical and a mental demand.
A combination.
A combination. It's got to like kind of take the competitor and go, are you physically capable? Are you mentally capable? Are you, you know, and the physical demands can vary, can be on a spectrum of many different, you know, kind of abilities, very many different kind of demands from a whole wide spectrum, but there has to be a level of kind of, yeah, like heart and lungs or kind of movement and that kind of physical, and as well as obviously the mental side of it as well.
Okay, so what about sports such as snooker, golf? I don't think they take much physical demand.
Okay, so
whatsoever. Yet I would pretty sure you and many other people, including myself, would count that as sport.
Okay, so I mean, for me, the golf side of things is there is that physical requirement. You're out, you're walking, you're covering a lot of ground.
Okay, wait. Walking, I'm not going to count as a physical requirement.
Wait, hang on a second.
Okay, fine. And by the way, they take those, what are they called?
No, they don't. No, they don't.
What, they're not allowed to take it?
They can if they want.
Okay, there you go.
That's optional.
Fine.
So basically, you're in a situation whereby, you know, you're kind of like walking, and you're up, down, different terrain maybe. Also, you got to think about the environment. You got to think about might be in the hot, might be in the cold, the wind, the rain. You know, these things are it's a physically demanding environment to be in. And then also at the same time, you're expected to perform a particular skill, a physical skill. That's the thing. It's performing a physical skill and performing it over a period of time. So, you know.
So I would count that more as technical skill rather than a physical skill.
Well, you can have a physical skill which is a technical or a gross or a fine skill, a gross motor skill. You find like the smaller technical ones are finer, the larger gross ones are more, you know, kind of larger and for example, a golf swing would be at the.
So generating a lot of power, I'll be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then like a
putt,
one, for example, is a much more like a finer technical skill. I mean, there's still a huge amount of technicality within a golf swing from teeing off. Anyway,
yeah,
you should see right here. It goes slicing right, hooking.
Similar
left.
With snooker, right?
Yeah,
depending how you spin the ball or whatever it is. Fine.
So I think that, you know, that there's that kind of like, and also there's this element of physical fatigue. You know, it's whether, you know, and I think it's important to actually like put a point out here that, you know, you could be playing like wheelchair basketball, you could be playing golf, you could be playing NFL quarterback, you could be, you know, Paralympian, whatever. All these kind of like broad spectrum of physically demanding entity or like competitions. They also require mental, like application as well. You know, especially like anxiety, motivation levels. You know, fear of failure. All these kind of things. That's part of the mental demand.
Well, I think we can agree the mental side.
Yeah.
Is on both sides. You can't. Yeah. We're talking about mainly. What was that face for?
Well, we can, yeah. I mean, let's.
To be honest, I would say gaming mentally is more strenuous than your traditional physical sports. You've got to sit in front of a screen for hours a day. Do you know how fucking draining that must be?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
and you've got to be alert.
Also, that must have a horrendous effect on your eyesight as well.
Well, I've been gaming since primary school in front of my PlayStation 1, and I still don't need glasses. So I think I'm calling bullshit.
When was the last time you had an eye test?
A few years back. But it got
very vague.
I got a perfect score. Well, not perfect, but I didn't need glasses. I can see details in people's faces. Is that enough? I can read from afar, you know.
We'll see when you come to. Do you drive a car?
Yeah.
So you've already done the number plate test.
Yeah, that was past that with ease. My license doesn't say I have to wear glasses to drive.
Okay, fair enough. So the mental, there is that kind of level of mental demand that effectively is across both the electronic sports arena
and I think people may not realize this isn't them competing at home against each other. This is them going to arenas, stadiums, in front of thousands of people. That's going to play a part on your mental game as well.
Oh yeah, no. Look.
Just so people are aware, it's not like I'm in my home playing for $1 million
with a pack of cookies and a cup of coffee.
No, this is I gotta wear sponsorships. Yeah. I gotta wear
you're in your trackies.
I gotta go on stage. I gotta, maybe if you really want to, do interviews with the host.
Okay.
It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so you know the mental element is definitely there. The mental element is a huge requirement. So you've got me. You know, you're right on that one. Sure.
Don't try the mental game of the gamers.
And I know, and I can actually say that I mentally broke very early on in my esports career.
There you go. Johnny got you.
Johnny got me.
Johnny broke you.
There was a bit of banter to and forth. I couldn't deal with it. I also think he was cheating at one point, though, which is going to be the next thing that I want to ask about, because I'm sure he was a rock running around the kind of level, and he was a rock, and he was shooting me as a rock.
You're saying he was hacking the game?
Possibly hacking the game, which is, I guess that's kind of like, you know, you can't have a massive forum like that without people trying to up one on one another, or kind of like put themselves in a better position to be able to win. I mean, and that's actually probably an absolute similarity between esports and traditional sports. We'll call them esports and traditional sports because look, I know I can see you're getting angry because I'm not getting angry. I'm not getting angry at all.
What I would say is, yes, there's a lot of hacking because that's just nature of computers. You can hack so you hack the game so you get an advantage. You get stuff like aimbot, which basically means you just it aims for you.
Oh,
you just shoot and the gun just kills for you, because
much like the US military,
something along those lines. And the problem with that is you can't really do that on a live stage.
Right.
You get caught out.
Okay.
So at the highest stage, there's not an issue whatsoever.
So that's interesting. So basically you can, in the preliminaries, kind of like bend the rules a bit, cheat a little bit, kind of thing. But
then you'd get, if people think you are, they'll complain, they'll report you, they'll look into it.
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, someone did try to cheat on the big stage and they got caught out very quickly.
So just that point there that you made about the fact that you can kind of like get through maybe the early stages, or you can kind of put yourself in a position where you're effectively doing really well within the early stages of leading up to an arena. That's kind of like similar.
I'm going to say it's not, because you're not going to get away with it.
Okay, but I mean, and you get called out at some point, right?
Usually pretty early. Okay. So like for example, I'm pretty familiar with the CrossFit setup, although I don't actually I'm not a member of a box. I know how the process works, and they have like preliminary box local competitions, or opens, so to speak, whereby they have to like judge one another, so to speak, in their execution of particular WODs, in order for them to make certain times and make certain positions in order for them to move on to later qualifying stages, and the top whatever it is, a top 100 then fall through into the CrossFit Open. Now obviously normally again at some sort of early point, if you haven't been completely truthful, or your mates judged you and there's been that, which you don't tend to get anyway, but you do obviously occasionally, there might be a level of bending the rules slightly, or being kind on like no reps and stuff like that.
you know, you kind of like you will get called out quite early. So I think there's definitely some similarities there from a traditional sporting competitive setup and also the actual kind of esports setup with regards to the competitions.
Well, with regards to that, the good thing about computers is you can save. So let's say I think you're doing something a bit dodgy, I can save that gameplay and go, excuse me, to whoever's
like a moderator.
moderating.
So you can grass someone up, basically.
That's all people do. Even if you're not cheating, you're gonna get.
Say if you're like a moderator, you're sitting there and it's just like ping.
There's just
ping,
complaint after
ping,
complaint.
Ping.
Yeah.
So you've got to check all these people. So you must surely, as a moderator, you probably don't get any chance to play the actual game. You've just got to watch everyone potentially cheating and decide whether it's cheating.
Well, if during that tournament, I guess so. Yeah,
okay.
you're not gonna play.
Yeah.
You've got to moderate. It's your job, right? Outside of him moderating, then yeah, he can play.
Okay.
And then he probably complains to the other moderators as well. So, but yeah,
It's
so it's very easy to quickly crack down on people that are cheating. I actually know someone who, I'm not going to say his name, but is a good friend of mine, and he entered this tournament it was a KFC tournament. It was sponsored by KFC actually.
As you do.
$5,000.
Play a bit of gaming, eat a bit of KFC, play a bit
the
of
healthy
gaming,
lifestyle.
bit more KFC. It's a boneless banquet. I'll have a bit of that. Dip.
And it was a $5,000 prize for the winner, and he was trying to qualify for it. And it was a battle royale. So if anyone that doesn't know, it's like a free for all. You throw loads of players in, everyone's killing each other.
Like a wrestling battle royale.
Similar, yeah. But the way they make it work is, so you're paired up as a team, so you're facing other teams of 2 or 4s.
Right.
And then you're competing amongst each other. So you're on the same team, so you can't kill each other.
Right.
But it's whoever gets the most kills out of the 2 goes through.
Okay, I'm with you.
And I remember I came online and my friend said, jump online, I need you to get into the same lobby as me. So we tried to we searched for the same game.
Already sounds dodgy.
Same game, and we were hoping we'll get into the same battle royale. It was 4 of us as well trying to get into this. So it was him and then 4 of us all trying to help our fellow friend. And we get in, and all we did was run to him. He told us where he was. We ran to him and we let him kill us. So he was 4 kills up before the other guys even had a chance to. That guy went, well, this is fishy as fuck.
Really?
And he recorded it, sent it to the moderator, and he got him banned.
4 people just ran at him.
We just ran at him, but the other guy couldn't see that because he's somewhere else.
He just got
but
4 immediate kills.
You can check like the kill feed comes up.
Right.
He was like, how the fuck has he got 4 kills already? We just started the game.
Could he have not like dropped like a cluster grenade or something? Right,
so at the beginning of battle royales, you've got like no weapons. You're supposed to scavenge for them.
Oh gosh.
And we got there straight away, and he had like a shitty pistol, and he just killed us. We just stood there.
Yeah.
Take us, and then.
So obvious. Never rob a bank.
What we should have done. So what we realized after, what we should have done is team up as a 4, let him tell us where he is, and just go kill the other guy. That would have been so much better, and we would never have got caught. But yeah, he got banned.
You live and learn.
So it's really difficult to cheat.
So we never got his £5,000 worth of KFC.
Not $5,000. No, $5,000 of cash, sponsored for whatever reason by KFC.
Did he get some free KFC? At all?
No, he got banned. He was cheating.
Got banned from KFC.
Like, he's banned forever from that tournament. He can never enter it again, unless he creates a completely new account.
He can still buy KFC though.
Okay, yeah, which he does all the time, and I'm trying to tell him to stop. But yeah, he does.
Come on. Okay, so that's interesting. So one thing that I have got to ask you about is the athleticism of esports competitors. Professional competitors.
I call them athletes, but yeah. Okay.
And I disagree with that. That's actually fine. I don't think they're athletes.
Okay.
I think that
hit me with the definition of athlete. Hit me with one.
My definition.
Your definition.
My opinion of what an athlete is.
Yeah.
Again, it's that kind of like physical and mental combination, I guess, that kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, an athletic demand requires a physical reaction. That wasn't a stage cough, by the way.
Was that it?
Yeah, that's it. That wasn't a stage cough.
So the athlete doesn't have to look a certain way. Can we scrap that?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, so they tick that box.
Athletes can look and can perform in the broadest of spectrums.
Perfect.
But there must be a physical demand that is placed upon them.
So it's nothing to do with the competition. As long as there's a physical demand.
I mean, like, you can't say that, for example, running around playing Call of Duty, the actual little avatar guy that's running around that's not the physical attribute. Just because in case you thought
virtual,
you might, that's which is fine, because that's
so
very physically demanding.
Let me ask you this then: when gaming eventually goes into virtual gaming,
yeah,
and you are that person running around with the gun,
sure,
are you then going to consider them athletes?
Well, why don't you come back and talk to me then?
Oh, okay, so you don't want to answer that question, you see? So eventually, even by your definition, they will become athletes.
Okay, so let me put it like this then. Right, so at the moment, the physical requirements of a esports professional, I'm going to stick with the word professional.
Okay.
Have, let's say, for example, a controller pad, what they call,
or keyboard and mouse,
keyboard and mouse, controller, whatever. And then maybe some sort of hydration to the side,
as in water,
whatever.
Okay.
Or a beer. Some of them
coffee.
Some of them might have a little Corona Light on the go with some lime.
Fine.
So they're there, they're playing away. I'm just, for those of you who are listening, I'm pressing my thumbs on the controller, and now I'm reaching over, grabbing my beer.
Yeah.
It's actually a coffee.
Yeah.
Taking a sip, popping it back down, and continue to play the tournament. That's kind of how I see that's the kind of physical demand, maximal physical demand at the moment.
Okay. That wouldn't happen, by the way. They're going to be too immersed in the bloody game to be having... First of all, they would never be drunk while they're playing.
I didn't say drunk.
Well, under the influence. I'm going to tell you why I think they are athletes. You can make fun of the strenuous thumb work they have to do and the stretches. They actually do like, they do hand warming exercises.
Yeah. I know.
They actually do that. They got special. I forgot what they're called, but it warms up their hands. So
hand warmers,
whatever they are.
Yeah.
I call them athletes, and the reason why is because I understand the strain these guys have to go to, the amount of hours they have to play to get good at the game. Usually the games have a high skill gap, and you can't just walk in and go, yeah, I know how to play Super Mario, let's go.
I'm actually quite good at Super Mario,
and that talent has gone to waste, hasn't it? So there's no point of that. Whereas when you're playing, there is the reaction time, the decision making. I literally mental. Yeah, that's fine. They are mental, but when I watch it, I go, "How the fuck has he done that?" I genuinely, when I'm watching some of these, like StarCraft 2 is a great example. The amount of multitasking they have to do, which again, yes, it's mental. You don't know the game, Will. So you can't say it, but believe me, it's like chess times 100, like the amount of shit you have to do.
Yeah.
And when I watch it, I honestly believe, I'm watching it, and in my head I go, there is no fucking way I can get that good. There is no fucking way. When I watch sports, I don't have that same reaction. I do not. When I watch Messi, for example, playing football, I go, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but there's no fucking way you're going to get as good as Messi.
Granted, but I do believe there are footballers there that I go, you know what? If I stuck to it, if I stuck to the sport,
yeah,
I reckon I can reach that level.
What, playing alongside Messi?
Yeah, alongside him.
I'm calling bullshit on that.
Hold on,
straight away.
I'm talking about lesser players than Messi. Messi is is a whole another topic. We could discuss that another day.
You're never going to get anywhere near as good as
Messi,
Messi.
fine. He's an exception. No other football player on the planet is going to get anywhere near Messi.
That's fine.
Right? But when I watch multiple players playing on the game, I go, there's no way I'm reaching that level. There's just no way. And no matter how many hours I grind.
And I don't debate. I'm not here saying that there is a huge demand of mental capacity placed upon someone who is in a big time arena or even the preliminaries before that, whatever, but they're in that kind of situation where they're having to like cue utilization, what's going on here, what's going on there, speaking to your teammates, but all these kind of things are going on, bang 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 bang, bang, all at like a rate of whatever they're going through at, and you're having to process them, and then you're going to have to make a decision and then act upon that decision in a very, very short period of time. Otherwise, you're going to
incredible.
Which that's not what I'm debating. That also is the same. For example, when you're physically playing a sport, whereby you're, especially a team sport, invasive sport, there's multiple people that are kind of moving around any given time, any given place. You have a plan or a strategy that you have, but that strategy falls away because X, Y, and Z happens. So now you have to react to that, make a decision, process your environment, cue utilization. All happens in exactly the same way. It's just physically happening, not virtually happening.
Yes.
So that's where I've got the problem. So,
and that's where I don't. That's where we disagree.
Where we disagree.
That's not an issue.
I mean, I am genuinely interested into what like the people that are listening think, or the people that are watching think.
Love to know.
Because like, to your point about if all of a sudden you're in a situation where, because I know virtual reality is coming on leaps and bounds, and by the way, that is so exciting, and we could do a whole podcast on virtual reality.
Probably will.
And the kind of opportunities that are coming in there for all sorts of things, for like all the way from like learning fitness techniques, how does that play a part in like kind of personal training, virtual reality with regards to like rehab, virtual reality with regards to actually physically getting the society moving more, because it's becoming more entertaining to do it that way than go to the gym. So all these things are brilliant. We can go into that for sure. But the point that I'm thinking of here is where you move from you start putting these packs on, and I've done a few virtual reality things, loved them, and you start putting these packs on, and now instead of the person on the screen being that virtual entity that's carrying out the task, you're actually physically carrying out the task. Now you've become an esports athlete.
That's when you would go, okay, it's time to redefine.
That's when I'm on board. And like, and for me, that's how, as something evolves, something has to be redefined. Things get redefined as something grows, right?
And I think it's already been redefined. 10 years ago, if you asked me the same question, I go, well, that's ridiculous. Esports, what's that? That's stupid. But it's making too much noise now. You cannot deny that. And my definition for an athlete in general is someone who is at the highest of their sport, I guess, which I count esports.
Highest.
And competing against other elites at their given sport.
From the level, so from a level of like where someone has managed to reach the top of the top, the creme de the creme.
Yeah, if someone comes up to me and tells me I play Sunday league football, I'm an athlete, I'm going to say, well, sorry, but you're not. If he really wants to be picky,
so you're saying that Sunday league footballers aren't athletes, just to get that
understanding. If they really want to be picky, they can go, I'm an amateur athlete. Fine, okay, take that.
Yeah.
Okay, so am I. In any sport you want to give me any sport, I'll tell you I'm an amateur athlete. So what? We're talking about professional. I'm just saying.
Well, you're getting nasty, mate. I mean,
I'm just saying, like,
come at me, bro.
I'm just saying, like, okay, give me a cue stick and I'll tell you I'm an amateur snooker athlete. Like, it's
right.
It's not that big of a deal. But when you're talking about the professional scene, that's when I go, Okay, I admire what you do. I know that took
I would
years of hard work.
I would say that someone who is at the top of the top, and in that kind of level of competition, I would say they are a professional competitor.
Okay.
I would absolutely say, the level of competition, the level of demand, the mental application, the investment of time and mental energy, not physical energy, but mental energy into being able to accomplish that level makes them a very competitive person and thus a professional competitor.
I've thought of another sport. Can you defend darts for me with your definition?
I mean,
it's a serious question.
It's so that obviously falls in the like kind of pub sport category. It's a sport, but
Okay.
for me, the demands, the setup, the structure, it again requires a low level of athleticism.
I think it's no different to what the pros at esports have to go through. They're under lights. They're under the strain of. They've got more people watching. I'll be frank. And
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
If
Apart from
anything,
down at Ali Pally, I mean, there's
Yeah.
quite a lot of people that watch the old darts down at Ali
I'm sure
Pally.
there's quite a few people, but gaming exceeds it by far.
Yeah.
I'm confident in saying that.
Well, this is society evolving, isn't it? This
Yeah.
is how the world is changing and embracing a new venture,
A new age.
something which is and does present itself in a different way than how things have previously been presented.
So I think we just need to agree to disagree here, since you're saying
I mean,
there has to be a physical aspect to it.
At the moment, I don't think that there is a physical element involved in the esports or e-competition arena at the moment. I think as soon as you bring in a physical element, which it can become it becomes a different kind of, the virtual reality element, for example, where you're actually running around. I think even that though then probably becomes it grows a separate body of it becomes a different entity in itself.
It just sounds like you just refuse to allow gaming to be part of the sports world. And what if, so there's talks of it maybe entering Olympics. What would you say then?
Do one.
So you'd be against that?
I would be against that.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
I'm afraid I'd have a problem.
Once upon a time the Olympics held poetry and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that okay? What was that?
I don't know. I mean, to your point, once upon a time it held poetry.
Yeah.
That sounds like poetry in itself, mate.
I was giving
once
an
upon
example.
a time, the Olympics held poetry, and now
It doesn't.
it does not.
Okay.
And I think that in itself tells a very poetic
And one
story.
day, the gaming industry will enter the Olympics, and I'll come back to you and laugh.
Well, please don't come back and laugh.
I told you it's a sport.
Please
and
don't come back
I
and
told
laugh,
you
because
they're athletes because now they have gold medals.
So, for example, if you had a gladiatorial arena
Mm-hmm.
whereby everyone was like in virtual, like a virtual kind of setup in a gladiatorial arena, and people were watching, and on a big screen they were watching, and there was stuff going on, so it became almost like gladiators, but virtually, and then you could put them in the Olympics, and I'd be
I
sure,
don't
that's
think that
fine.
would be that popular. There's something about seeing the real thing, seeing people actually get hurt, that I think appeases people.
As in, like within sports, obviously, not within
Sports. Yeah. So I think combat sports, for
Well-
example, which I really want to get into another time.
Well, we're gonna have to disagree,
Fine.
but I agree. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm very interested to know the opinion of people that have been tuning in and listening.
Let us know whether you think esports professionals should be considered athletes.
And ask us any questions along the way. If you want anything, we're going to do a Q&A based around this.
Yes.
Following the podcast at a later time.
Well, thank you all very much. You can find Will on Instagram.
Will
not in real
Hawkins
life.
Coaching.
There you go. And me on Ghazi.92. This has been The Big Drill.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Will.
And I'm Ghazi.
And thanks for tuning in to The Big Drill. You can also find us on these platforms here. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find him on Insta.
Ghazi.92.
And me, Will Hawkins Coaching. The links are in the description. And until the next time we drill deep, goodbye.
Bye.